Oh boy, welcome back to It Is Mine. I think I'm going to call this To Care to Not Care. We covered a lot of things tonight in our Bible study group, and I have to say it's a blessing, and it is very painful at the same time, because there's a lot of things you come to realize and understand, not just simply tied to Scripture, but also tied to where we're at here in this world. I mean, in some regards, I feel like there's a story of like the young prophet and the old prophet, and I feel like I'm the old prophet in some ways. So, yeah. Anyway, if you're not aware of that story, don't worry about it. It's something I've thought about on and off, rarely on and off, but when I do, it's... Anyway, moving on. As far as with a particular Bible verse, the first one of Genesis 15 there, about God being blessing and inheritance, the reward, so to speak. The AI Bible channel has really done a number with showing off like what this could look like, and it really puts things in perspective, because when people are like, well, what's the point of this? You go to heaven. All right, cool. Well, one of the main pillars in heaven, as shown visually speaking, God would be a couple miles high, a couple miles long, like he is in the center of everything. So like the point that I kind of realized was that like you're going to heaven, but here's the thing: if God is going to be the reward, and you can get to heaven, but you're not allowed to go see God because you never got the reward. That means you can go to heaven, but you can't see God. And the idea that I guess I'm trying to press upon here is that being able to get to heaven and not see God is going to kill a lot. It's going to emotionally cripple and hurt a lot of people, because they so want to see God and yet they can't. And in that sense, from that point, it makes a lot of sense as far as God being the reward, being around him, being in his presence. And a lot of people, I suspect, just don't realize that this is likely what is going to happen with God being the reward. Seeing his face, being in his presence, because it's not guaranteed. Like, some people are going to make it into heaven by the skin of their teeth. The thief on the cross to the right of Jesus, if I remember correctly, he was the one where Jesus said that you're going to be with me in heaven, either one day or later that day, depending upon the phrasing. People pointed out that parentheses in the sentence could indicate one or the other. Honestly, I'll get into that later, but it's worth mentioning. We covered a lot of stuff: anger, depression, and I know I've talked about it a couple videos back, a couple months ago. My baseline, I think, is in the negatives. You know, like everyone starts off here and I'm starting out a little bit below. Just because depression is always there, it's always a part of my life. It's crippling in some ways. Now, I may speak from depression, but I'm not speaking in depression. And it takes time to work through this stuff. I think it's part of my plate. I think it's part of my trials, so to speak, my challenges, and it sucks, but there's a purpose to it. What we go through is going to have an impact on us, obviously, but we're not going to know what to do with it right then and there the majority of the time. So got to go get help. We got to find ways to make it through. Look back at what you overcome. Maybe in my case, 10 years from that incident, whatever it was in your life, you may actually find that there was a point and purpose to it later down the road. Because of kids. Kids pop into your life who are struggling, who have issues, and you could actually talk to them because you went through this 10 years ago. I'm using that because it actually applied to me. This stuff is not meant to be easy, but it's going to be worth it in the end. I mean, I believe in God's reward. I believe in things like joy and love existing, but I don't really see them, you know? I'm trying to find fellowship. I am trying to pursue stuff that is godly and holy, and also for my best, you know? What is best for me? I point this out to others tonight because I was like, you got to understand, like, this is something I think we all should look at and answer. What is the best for you? Not your spouse, not your kids, you. This may be self-centered, but in the sense of fixing yourself and making sure you're not forgetting anything, that you're not off, you're not getting yourself right matters in the sense that you're going to be right before God, and you're going to be right by your kids and anyone else who's relying on you. Your work too. Like, if you're off and you go to work, you're going to be off at work, you know? This stuff matters. Oh, tonight was painful. Pain and depression. I'm used to them both. I think the last important thing that I covered was family. Online family. Like, let me back up here. Having a family, having other people around me, all the joys and blessings and the struggles that come with it. And I would like to cover this more in the future, but I need to figure out how to frame it. But family is important, and as I've told others, like, I kind of consider Facebook the internet, parts of the internet, including Facebook, to actually be a part of that, because it was a part of my family, my online family. My real life family, my parents and my siblings, sure. And they're all out of the picture at this point. So, yeah, having a family matters. Having fellowship matters. The two are different and will always be different per se, because you can get fellowship from outside the family, not just inside the family. But I need to press upon the fact that we do kind of need both. If you're going through life without family, well, get friends, get pets, get something that'll help out in some way, shape, or form. But the online family, there's a lot attached there, good memories, people, a lot. There are places too. I'll touch upon that later, but the internet itself, the easiest way to point it is that the platform that you're on can provide a lot. And even back in 2008, there was a lot. This stuff matters, but you have to figure out how it matters, and you have to figure out where it's going to be at in your life. And I think some things just take time to mature, because where you start off is not where you're going to end up at. When this is particularly true for, tackling the question, what's the best for you? Because as I've noticed, there's a progression, and I was like, okay, cool. I noticed this when I was a kid, and it just kind of grew. It grew over time, over the period of 20 years. I want the best for me. I have to be the best, be better, be the best that I can be the best version of myself. And, apply that to your life. And then it took various different steps from there. But one of those steps was actually like attaching scripture and the Bible to this. Because when you're going through this, why? The why actually matters. Being general is hard, but in this case I think it fits well, is because when you're going through life, when things happen, there's going to be whys attached to them, which some you're going to be able to answer. God allows this stuff to happen for multiple reasons, but it in the context of wanting the best for yourself, there's going to be very specific reason there. That's it. I'm not trying to overload, not trying to emotionally dump, not trying to put too much on the plate, so to speak, but there was a lot there that I wanted to share some highlights here that has been helpful to me, and I know it's been helpful to the other people there at this group. The group that they're starting up, I very much would like to be a part of, and they can cover some of the more technical aspects, because even though I'm aware of some of the stuff with the technical side, they actually completely blow me out of the water, so to speak. Like the history, we're talking about studying languages here. They are studying languages here. That's not something I will ever do. They know behind the scenes as far as the scripture and all of that. Whereas I have a little bit more on the practical side of things, you know. There's the scriptural side, the biblical side, and then there's what I'm seeing outside of the church, outside of the Bible, and all of that. There's a place for it here. And trying to bring light to some of the stuff, even though some of it is a bit more on the funny side of it, matters. Visualizations matter, because some people will never understand things without some sort of an example. You know, the AI Bible channel talking about like what Satan looked like before his fall, what Lucifer looked like before his fall. If that's the first angel you've ever seen, of course you're going to be like, this is the most beautiful thing ever. That's God. Let me worship him. Absolutely gorgeous. Created by AI. Phenomenal. Actually, I'm going to link to that down below, so check the description if you really want to have your mind blown by that. Absolutely mind-blowing. The AI Bible channel has done so much right with visually representation of this is what this could look like. In the case of like Satan and Lucifer, oh yeah, definitely. I think some things, they are what they are. Oh, right. The other thing that I wanted to cover was the whole like to care, to not care. I know that they're not gonna like this, but you know, asshole. To be an asshole, that's kind of the point here. And I know I have to cover this, so I know the algorithm is not gonna like this, but in short, I'm pretty sure the algorithm doesn't like me at all anyway. But you know, I don't care about that, so to speak, because I'm trying to present the right thing in the right way. Trying. So when it comes down to it, one of the things I noticed when I was a kid that I said I would never be is be an asshole. Someone who doesn't care about others and someone who's just all about me, 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 me. And yet as I've gone through life, I understand more of why so many guys are checking out and not caring and not putting other people out there, not self-sacrificing, not anything like that. There's a lot of pain, and they get to a point where they're just like, I'm done. Everyone has a different tolerance level when it comes down to this. The Bible talks about the refiner's fire and sculpting, like men being sculpted. I'm not sure about the phrasing about that, but men being sculpted and becoming the piece that the potter's hands works on. We can only take so much pain and suffering as far as that goes before we just say, God, we're done. We're checking out here, so to speak. Paraphrase that. Knowing when to open up and talk to God and when to say, like, I can't take anymore is imperative. It's crucial. You're going to have to figure some of this stuff out as you go, and you need to figure out your own boundaries. God has his boundaries, and we have ours. This stuff shouldn't be new, and if any of this is coming across to you as new, it's something you need to take a look at. What's not being talked about, either in church or outside of church. People outside obviously don't talk about stuff that's hard unless it's gym related or tied to their job. Something that it's norm to them because it's something that they deal with. I mean, I deal with some heavy stuff on a daily basis. I deal with depression and PTSD like every single day. I don't get triggered every single day, thankfully, but oh my word, this stuff is crippling. I mean, me being alive is a miracle. I shouldn't be alive. I'm not giving up, I'm not throwing the towel, but like trying to get through all of this, get through 33 plus years of anger, trying to, oh yeah, that's another thing too. Getting through anger and not letting bitterness destroy you or change everything has been difficult. You know, why am I single? What am I doing wrong? I like regret asking these questions because this just led me on a world of pain. Not because of like, oh, this is true, this is reality, but because of other things that are tied to things you cannot change. They're changed. There's some parts of this that are changed to how humans actually are. You know, men outside talk about hypergamy, women wanting the best for themselves and their kids. And if you're not the best kind of man out there, you're probably not going to get into a relationship. That's one aspect. Responsibility is another aspect. Are you able to handle women, to handle the responsibilities? Are you able to handle what's on your plate right now? This isn't just simply cut yes or no. This is like a no or a yes with explanations and understanding behind it. Knowing the difference and then caring about it is one of those things that kind of sets Christians apart from others. We know, and yet we still care. Why do you care? Well, it's going to look a little bit differently on a personal level for everyone, with the exception of the people who just rely on scripture and nothing else. And I'll be like, I'm a little biased here. What about your dad? Oh, didn't have a good relationship with your dad, eh? Okay. Well, I did. My birth mom is still alive, so I have two moms who I can talk to. One dad and two moms. Talk about a different perspective for sure. Yeah, stuff matters. I just pointing out some of the stuff here, hopefully in a way that'll get you to think and hopefully in a way that'll stick. I mean, there was a ton of stuff covered tonight. I mean, I want the best for me. I want to be a blessing to others. I want more. Not in a wrong way, but more in the sense to have around me so I can bless other people around me. Online looks a little different than real life, because real life is just, I'm going through a particular phase here and it's tied to my job, and midnight to 8 o'clock, 8 a.m. in the morning shifts are not easy, but it's actually tied to this, and I kind of gave my word that I'll do the best I could here while I'm here, and that I would try to stick it out for 5 years. I am roughly 2.5 years into that. To be fair, it's one of the easiest jobs I've ever done, physically speaking. I am challenged on a social level that is never existed ever in the other jobs that I've had to work. Dealing with people who want to throw false allegations at me. Second one. The first one, social interactions. 2, I am challenged to deal with people who do not like me, who don't want anything to do with me, and then how to handle that. Okay, here's an example. There's a couple of people who will never say anything to me, but they'll always talk to their friends and talk to other people around them, and I'm like, why is that? What am I doing wrong? But as it turns out, after a couple years of trying to figure this out, it's okay if they don't say anything. It's okay if they don't interact with you, because there's no negative interactions. There's no problems, there's no issues. So you need to I need to learn to let it go and not worry, not stress about that. You only need to worry about that if there's negative interactions. That's the gist of it. Sure, you want to make more friends, talk to more people, whatever. But that's not always going to happen. And understanding the why can give you some peace. Or it can do the exact opposite and stress you out because, you don't get it and you want it. I want to have a relationship. You're not getting a relationship. Why is that? Bad time frame. Too many people are self-centered. Too much anger and hatred splitting men and women apart. I mean, looking at some of the bad examples of what's happening with, relationships being split apart. Yeah. Being thankful that you're single means you're missing a couple bolts that would absolutely crush your heart, destroy your life, ruin your life. Oh my word. Talking to some people now where they're just yesterday talking with a friend, not my friend, but a friend of his friend, so to speak, and they're talking about personal EPO, emergency protective order. Talk about dating the wrong person. When you're considering EPO against someone that you were in a relationship with, holy jeez, what happened there? Oh my word. Yeah, so a lot of things. We have covered so much tonight. I have to paraphrase some of this without going too much into depth, but I have to talk about it because I don't want to forget about it. And as it is, you tend to forget about things that happened when there's just so much crammed into it, into one night. I am thankful for these nights, I'm thankful for these times, but it doesn't mean they're going to be easy. And there's other aspects I'll explore into later. Online family is one of them. Remember, there are parts that I cannot talk about is because there's no right way to talk about them. None. The framework is off. I need to find the framework to talk about some of this stuff. Some of the personal aspects are not helpful to anyone else, and they're exactly that, personal, for me and me only. I've gotten some artwork made for me and me only. No one will ever see them. Take that for what you want, but when I'm contacted by I don't know how many artists, I love commissioning artwork. That's one of those personal things that I like doing. When I'm consistently hit up by 200 plus artists every year, give or take. Yeah. Anyway. Some things will only ever be for me. They're not going to be for others. And I guess everyone's going to be the same way too. But not everyone's going to try to do this sort of thing and put out good thoughts and hopefully stuff that's tied to scripture and not just scripture itself. And as I told others tonight, one thing that grinds my gears is just simply taking scripture and shoving down people's throats. There's a difference between presenting and forcing, and yet so many Christians do a bad job with the presenting, and all they know how to do is to force. Anyway, 23 minutes, I gotta end it here. I'm not trying to go too much further. I hope this has been helpful for you. Love to hear your thoughts on this down below, because I shoved in so much stuff here it's not even funny. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, anything that you'd like me to touch upon and explore in the future, let me know. I have tons of stuff to do that I am working on doing, but just let me know what your thoughts are. All right, till next time.